Hello and welcome to Thank You Thursday. Today we are talking about Olaudah Equiano, born 1745, died 1797. Olaudah Equiano was a writer, activist, entrepreneur and a former slave. He was one of the first, if not the first, black man to publish a book. His efforts contributed greatly to the abolition of slavery in Britain. His book was an instant seller, and he was one of the most well-known men of his time. He questioned the morals of a society that was built on the back of slavery. Equiano's story forced Britain to face up to their role in the suffering of millions of Africans. One of the biggest things that his writings exposed was the realities of life for a captured slave on the slave ships during their journey through the Middle Passage. The Middle Passage was the route that slave ships took from Africa to the Americas to sell slaves. Equiano experienced many sides of slavery, starting on the plantations and then serving a British naval officer where he learned to speak English. He was later sold in the West Indies to a Quaker named Robert King, who educated him to read, write so he could become his clerk. King offered him freedom if he could pay back the £40 that he paid for him. On his travels as a slave, he used his education to raise money by being a merchant on the side by buying and selling goods. In 1766, at age 21, Equiano was able to buy his own freedom. He moved to London to try out his newfound liberty, but ended up going back to the seas where he was captured and forced back into slavery, not being able to escape till he was 30. When he moved back to London, Equiano managed to regain his faith and set out on a new mission to save his people. After the War of Independence in America, many slaves came to London because they were promised freedom, but the reality was many ended up sick and destitute in the streets. Equiano and his black counterparts formed a lobbying group called the Sons of Africa that pushed the interests of black people before Parliament and worked with the abolitionist movement, advising them on how to act. The biggest impact he had was writing about his experiences. He exposed the brutality of the slave trade. He offered alternative economic methods like free trade with Africa. It was 10 years after Equiano died when slavery was abolished in Britain, and they were able to prove all the things that Equiano was telling them 10 years before. If you would like to know what life was actually like for a slave, make sure you read his book, The Interesting Narrative of the Life of Olaudah Equiano the African. I would like to thank Olaudah Equiano. You definitely made the world a better place. Peace.